Death and dying. Let's talk about it in Season 2 of MC4P. I'm your host, Wren Ribeiro. Could these end-of-life conversations lead to a greater sense of joy, of peace?
For all eternity.
Tune in and find out. Mujéres Co-Labor for Peace. Hey, hello, and welcome to Mujéres Co-Labor for Peace. I am Wren Ribeiro, and I wish you complete wellness and lasting peace. Today we are going to be joined by a brave woman who is actively facing her death. Even though this second season of MC4P is all about peaceful dying, I find it hard to imagine anyone as dynamic and spiritually alive as today's guest to have the capacity to actively embrace death. We will hear about surrender from someone in the throes of the process. This is about as real as it gets, folks. All right, with this candle, I welcome in all the spirit beings and the peace that is in our heart that wants to come through our voices for this episode of Mujéres Co-Labor for Peace. Okay. Hi, Jan.
Hello.
It's so good to be here with you.
Same.
Wow. Before we do our heart check-ins, I really want to introduce you to viewers and listeners.
Thank you.
Jan Lucier is a retired professor of nursing, a holistic nurse, what's the word?
Shamanic?
No, the word you love to say about metaphysical, no, it's
Mystical?
Mystical shaman.
Mystical shaman,
And you do great journey work with people like me and people all over. Apprentice people. You are a practitioner of mindfulness and a facilitator of deep spiritual healing. Wow. And sadly, 8 months ago, you were given a diagnosis of metastatic cancer.
Correct.
Whew. And we'll talk about that bravely. You're so brave to be here talking about that as you prepare for the inevitability that we all face.
Correct.
But for you is a little more on the front burner.
Yes.
The question I want to ask you is like how, after we do our heart check-in, how does being a nurse and a nurse that taught other people how to be a nurse, and being someone who has done so much spiritual training, how do those two things factor into your journey with cancer? So,
would you like me to answer now or after the heart?
I think I just wanted to
put it out there.
Put that out there.
Okay.
And then let's check in with our heart. So yeah.
Okay.
Like, in this moment, Jan, how is your heart?
My heart is softening. It's opening with compassion for myself and the world. That's really what I'm experiencing.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Whew. In this moment, I'm feeling my heart in my throat. I love checking in with my heart. I feel it's like the most important thing I do, to really like say, hey, thank you for beating every moment of my life, never taking a break, always laboring for me, yay.
Yeah.
But in this moment, it's just like, I'm feeling it in my head and like just the...
So opening too.
Yes.
Widening, opening.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. That heart energy really, for me, like I've noticed in the past couple of months, it wants to be bold and love bigger and more deeply. And it's in conflict with the skepticism or, the suspicion, whatever, that that the brain, the programming in the brain has about others, even non-humans, like the natural world. That's not true at all, because the natural world always just loves unconditionally.
That's
experience,
right.
Yeah. So, opening. That can be a nice theme.
Yes.
The question, how does being a nurse and someone with as much spiritual training as you had, which feel free to elaborate on,
Okay.
how does that factor into what you're going through with this cancer?
Okay. Well, first of all, it caught me 100% off guard. I had no idea I had cancer, and then to come in stage 4 breast cancer, given like 6 months to live, really was.
And that was 8 months ago.
Yes,
so
yes.
Yay.
I'm still here.
You're doing something right.
And we don't, the big important things in our lives we're not prepared for. Even though I was a nurse, I never worked in oncology. I certainly studied it, and I know basic things about it. But as far as the treatment and the care and what's all involved, I really had a connection through my some family members that had passed from cancer, and some friends that I've lost. Cancer is so prevalent. 1 in 3 women die from it, and 1 in 2 men.
Wow.
It's higher for men, actually.
Wow.
So that it's been all around me. When it comes and you have something, and I'm embodying this, it's a whole different ball game. And so I've used my abilities as a researcher and a teacher. I study a couple hours a day on cancer. I've probably read 20 books at this point. I'm taking notes because it's a vast array of misinformation, facts, twisted things, and trying to find what path I want to take as I go through this cancer journey. Yeah. So that's been quite challenging, and some of me is a little mad about that. I just feel like something as prevalent as this. Breast cancer has been around for over 100 years and probably 1,000 years, but we live longer now, so more people have it than in ancient days. But still, we don't. We should know more. I feel like we should know more, and we're still doing the radiation, the surgery, the chemo that they do.
So
is the
violent.
same. In 50 years, it hasn't changed a lot.
Wow.
So I don't quite
Earlier
understand.
you were saying like this whole approach of chopping your breasts off. It sounds, I'm sorry to say it in those words, but it's like, it feels so violent.
Yes.
Like, what are some of the alternatives you've, or what would you like to see in as a service, medicine provided to you, or suggestions?
Well, my first appointment with my oncologist, there was a social worker who came in afterward. I like a beginner class to just, this is what cancer is. This is the way it grows. This is what we can do for it. Give me some choices. I didn't really have any choices. It was just, this is what we do for everybody with breast cancer. And my oncologist said that to me like it was a good thing. You're getting the same treatment as everybody else that has breast cancer. And inside I'm going, no, no. Yeah. Because I know that there's more to it than the physical, than the dense, gross body that we all have this. But it depends on my ancestry, for example. It depends on my mental state. Am I holding unforgiveness? Have I eaten the foods that we eat can cause cancer? The air we breathe, everything can affect. Am I exercising enough? Am I getting the vitamins and minerals that I need?
Right.
So I've had to look into really my whole lifestyle and try to pull out different things I can do. I'm doing a lot of things.
You just got back from a retreat. You went on a meditation retreat.
Yeah, I went on a 7-day silent meditation.
Beautiful.
And I'm in many support groups. I'm very grateful for the Cancer Connection in Northampton. Yeah. I'm in a writers group.
Wow.
And I'm in a metastatic breast cancer group, and I'm in an open cancer group. And these individuals, to me, feel like family now. Beautiful. And we're all going through the same thing. We can really help each other. It's a place we can really be free. Yeah. That's what a support group is. Yeah, yeah. So
safe, right?
It's safe
to say and feel and be however you are, whenever you are.
Yes, yes. It's very much that way.
Yeah.
And there's many other alternative kind of treatments. I mean, you can do, like, I'm getting hydrogen water.
Okay.
There's a hydrogen water bottle. There's oxygen therapy.
What is the difference between hydrogen water and regular water?
It has hydrogen in it.
Isn't hydrogen H2O?
more hydrogen.
Oh, so it's 2H2O?
It's healthy. It's healthy.
Cool.
For you.
Thank you for teaching me about that.
You know, there's of course more to it than that, but basically they found it to be healthy. And through the years, if you read the history of cancer treatments, there's the Rife machine that he made many years ago that many people were healed from. I take SEAC. ESSIAC, SEAC. And it was developed by an Ojibwe, came from an Ojibwe tribe, and then a nurse. So I like those two things.
I've heard that before. Oh my gosh, it was so many years ago when my mom had cancer 25 years ago.
Oh, did she do it?
No.
Okay.
She ate bacon and drank her red wine. And
there you go.
She's like, just whatever.
So I'm doing that and mushrooms. I'm taking 6 different mushrooms and all sorts of supplements. And,
wow.
And then, so I'm dealing with a lot of the physical parts of myself and trying to get as healthy as I can using things that are part of the Western medicine's protocols.
Yeah.
And then because I'm holistic in my outlook, when we have cancer, it's more than just the body. It's body, mind, soul, spirit, environment, culture, world. It's all of those factors. So I've really been working, which I was doing before I had cancer as well, to do my shadow work, to do my ancestral clearing work, to make sure I'm not holding bitterness or unforgiveness, clear up my relationships, all those different things. Grief, I have grief in my life I'm dealing with. So there's a lot of factors, and those all play a part in coming into a place of balance and wellness. I see illness as being out of balance and needing to come back. But it's very mysterious because I can't see inside my body to know what's happening. I do know at 6 months I had another scan.
Yeah.
And my tumors were less than half the size.
Fantastic.
And I don't want to go down too much that rabbit hole, but I had a lot of fluid in my chest. I was having 1 liter of fluid taken off.
Lungs, yeah. Oh my goodness.
And so that cleared up after about a month. And I have times where I'm very sick, and I have times where I feel pretty good. So it's really, it's kind of like life condensed into this time frame I'm in right now. I've really taken myself out of the rest of my life. I'm really kind of on a sabbatical, and I'm giving my attentions mostly to myself.
I'm so glad that you can do that. So Jan has really been leading all these wonderful journeying circles, drum circles, ceremonies on different, would you call them holidays or Earth days, like celebration days, like Samhain and Equinox
ritual and celebrations on different days for like Earth Day or the solstice and the equinox.
And Beltane and all those. So we've had a lot of wonderful things. But one of the things that I want to bring up is this New Earth Listeners group that we started with about maybe 8 people, and we had really regular meetings. New Earth Listeners. It was such a wonderful experience, and I was reflecting on that. Something that you just said made me think of this about how. Even though I've done this like dozens of times, come together in community to start something, and if it doesn't like produce something tangible, something big, it kind of, there's a little bit of a letdown. This group helped me to realize like it doesn't matter what we do together, it's how we do together.
Oh, I love that. And
we came together in ceremony in your space in such a beautiful way so frequently.
Yes.
That it really was, it is a really bright spot in my life, in my soul, as is the healing that you did, that you led for me. Oh my goodness. So I'm wondering if you want to speak to some of the spiritual trainings that you've done. There's so many, and some of the things that are your legacy and your gift as someone who serves the world in this way.
Okay. Music's very important to me. And when I went through my holistic nurse, well, I had sung in choirs and played a number of instruments growing up, so I had that background.
Nice.
But in holistic nursing, I was introduced to drumming. And African drumming, just I knew that was something I wanted to do. So I actually, when my mother died, I used the money from her, my inheritance, to buy my drum set.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
So she was reaching down to me. So I've developed that over like 30 years now, and I had enough drums I've outfitted over like 100 people. I've done some national drumming things for holistic nursing, and then locally I've done do retreats where I lead drumming and singing and chanting, and as a way to bring us into unity. And then the vibration is also quite healing. You know, the higher vibration we have, we carry more light, and there's more healing there. So music is such a beautiful, easy way to bring people into community, into oneness, and into that higher vibration. So that's been very important to me. I'm trained also as a cowrie shell reader.
Really?
Which comes from Africa.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's very interesting. It's got bones and shells and skulls and all sorts of things in there, and you throw them and then you read for the person. And I've been doing that for about 10 years. I read at Mandazi up until when I've gotten sick.
Okay.
And that's a very in-depth way that comes really from the country of Burkina Faso. And I learned a lot through that, and I love doing readings.
Do you do them for yourself, or is it something you do?
I can do them for myself.
Yeah?
I don't do it very often, but I've been thinking about it
Nice.
recently. And then my main training in shamanism really comes from 3 places. I was in a cult for 10 to 15 years, and it was very damaging to me. And so I was seeing a psychologist, and I said, I feel like I'm missing a part of myself, and we call that soul retrieval. And he said, I have someone for you. I never heard the word shaman, I never heard the word soul retrieval, and so I met the Inuit shaman named Mika, and really, he and Roger, who was the therapist, the psychologist, really saved my life, and were able to bring that part of me back, and so after I got well myself, I felt that I wanted to learn shamanism, so I studied with Mika until he transitioned, which was quite interesting because he's the real deal Inuit shaman. Nice. Running with the caribou and this whole different view of nature and our connection to everything. And that was my first experience of oneness, really, was after I was with him. I felt a dissolving of my boundaries and just a oneness with chairs and trees and the sky. Yeah. That was about 20 years ago. Wow. So I believe that was the beginning of my awakening process. I was kissing trees, and nice. I felt him in me and in everything. It was beautiful. And then I took formal training from Sandra Ingerman in Scotland for 2 years as a shamanic teacher. So I've been doing that now for about 15 years. Cool. And different levels. And I led 5 year-long programs in shamanism. See what else. Well, I'm an aromatherapist. I have a sort of a certification in that as well. That's what comes to me. And holistic nursing was big.
It's so many things. Thank you for sharing that. When you were talking about the music, the drumming, and it brings me back to the New Earth Listening Group and the way we work together and all the other things that I participated that you've led. And the journeying, you're so skillful with that. What do you do now, like day to day? What is part of your practice of sounding and
with music, using music,
percussion, or any of these?
Well, I use Jonathan Goldman. There's so many great apps now on the phone, and it plays different tones for the different chakras.
Okay.
So I tune in to which feels weak at this point. Most of the cancer is here on my right side here, so I do a lot around my heart and my solar plexus. So those are the sounds that I play.
So you play the sound and make the sound with your voice.
Yes, so I do
well?
different chants with Tara, the compassionate goddess.
Nice.
And then I sing a lot of songs. Like right now, I love the song, I release control, I surrender to the one, I surrender to the love that is healing me now. So things like that. And I write songs, I sing in light language as well.
Wow.
So it's just a way to lift up my spirit. And it does do that.
Nice.
I also drum, I make drums, I make rattles, I use them. And so it's that beat that really holds me in my meditation time, which is different than the more Buddhist insight meditation kind of more quiet background, but I do both.
You do both.
I do both now.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. So
and
great.
I use the medicine wheel. You know, I've taught the medicine wheel a number of times, and so I always open the 4 directions or the 7 directions, however you want to look at it, and invite in all my guides and allies and goddesses and Yeshua and Magdalena and the whole gang and my ancestors.
Wow.
So I don't feel alone. You know, I live alone. I have 2 dogs, which are definitely like goddesses and gods for me, Merlin and Freya. But I very much feel the presence of these spirits and guides and allies around me. And it would be a whole different experience having cancer if I didn't have them to rely on.
I'm totally imagining that your presence in the Cancer Connection and the groups that you're part of is really uplifting others, because you draw from such a deep well, so many gifts that you bring forward. And
thank you.
I know you want to talk about gifting. That's something that you had mentioned to me, and is something that's so important for what the world needs right now. I also want to say something that I've been really excited about, and I mentioned to you last time we met. I tell absolutely everybody about this book, Hospicing Modernity, because when I picked this up, I thought this is a blueprint for what the world needs now as well. And I'm doing a series on this with a facilitator from the Work That Reconnects Network.
Wonderful.
And where Wednesday is our 2nd session. We've already got a waiting list for the next one. And we're really working through a lot of the, because what modernity is, understanding modernity, and I want to also go back to the podcast and thank you for doing such a deep dive and watching a number of episodes and sharing with me your insight that capitalism, misogyny, and climate change cause cancer. I want to hear all about your thoughts there. And for people that haven't seen season 1, it's all about healing the effects of misogyny, capitalism, and climate change. So this Peaceful Dying series kind of is the next extension of that. But Hospicing Modernity calls all of us to be death doulas to modernity. To really, and Vanessa Andreotti is the author, so highly recommend. Can't say it enough. Be death doulas to that which creates dis-ease, the institutions and systems that create harm and violence of across, at so many scales. We're affected all, but differently, and it's inequitable, it's unjust, and it's. I feel like the work that you're doing, and I know that you'll be able to do it on any dimension, and it is exactly what can help us to understand hard things like what you're grappling with, and to shift the way we behave with each other. So like all of the gifts that you have cultivated and given to the world through ceremony and through teaching, and now within yourself and healing, I guess the question is, I do want to go back to your insight there. What do we do about these things that are causing cancer, and how do you draw the connection between, you know, climate change and capitalism and misogyny to cancer? Is that modernity and like, yeah, what was the insight that you got when you were watching the programs about, yeah, this is causing my cancer?
Yeah, they're all contributing factors for sure. And that it was my initial response to watching your podcast. What was that wow, this has really touched me, and now I'm having to deal with a catastrophic illness. So the climate change piece really is, you know, we've taken such terrible care of Mother Earth. And so all of that, all of us have cancer cells in us, and we're affected by all of the pollution in the air, in the water, and what we've done with the way we raise animals and plants, and the earth. All of those things are factors that cause cancer, and even Western medicine will agree with that, but they don't do anything about it. It's like they're aware of it, but and to me, if you've got about half of the country dying of an illness, you need to be putting more research, more time, and changing the way that we deal with food and water and our environment. So that's a big one, and I'm doing a lot of things to combat that by taking the mushrooms, by getting the oxygen therapy, by all these things that I'm doing are really to combat, and that our food, the same piece of anything really from say 50 years ago has like 1/10 of the nutrients that was in it because of the way that we farm.
1/10?
Yeah, it's just awful. So climate, I mean, that's a quick run through on climate. On misogyny, again, I think the fact that so many people women are affected by breast cancer should have more attention drawn to it. I'd like to see more on that than using Botox and trying to make ourselves, you know, more young looking when we're 60, trying to look 20 and whatever it is, you know, all that kind of stuff. No, we need help with this. This is a big deal. All of us know people that have died of breast cancer or have it, or, you know, are somewhere on the continuum of that. And so I think it is because men control the medical system and the government and where the money's going. All of those things are affected, and it's under served in terms of because it's a woman's problem. It's more kind of accepted, and women tend to just go along with it. And I did as well in the beginning because I was very ignorant of a lot. So a lot of women get, oh yeah, breast cancer. Okay, you need to go get radiation, chemotherapy, all this, and be sick and lose your hair and probably have some of your breast or most of your breast taken off, and all this stuff. This is huge. Your life stops. I mean, this is a game changer in people's lives, and people tend to kind of just be isolated with it and suffering alone.
Not right.
So, you know, anyway, I do think I'd love to see some of the billionaires and whatever use some of their monies and put it towards research and help for people. To
really check in with their hearts and be like, I could do more. I could do better.
Yeah, exactly. And then, that kind of bleeds into capitalism. But there's not enough care. Like I feel the real lack of support at even at the cancer hospital I'm at where I'm getting my treatments. I see the doctor once a month for like 15 minutes, and I can call in, you know, if something happens.
As often as you want?
As often as I want.
Okay.
but along the way, as I've been learning more about it, I have more and more questions, and I don't feel like there's enough resources really there for me. And mostly it's just to shrink the tumors and to give me a little longer to live. Rather than going functional medicine, I'm very much a fan of that, going to the root of what is causing this cancer. And if you don't get the root of it, it's just going to come back and come back, maybe 5 years, maybe 2 years, maybe 6 months.
Or show up as a different form of cancer in your body, or some other illness, dis-ease, you know.
Yes, I have that with all, and in the groups I'm in, there's many people that have had 3 different kinds of cancers over the years. But there needs to be much more money, time put into it. And in the past, there's many people who have developed, done research, and it was successful with some kinds of cancers, and the establishment killed them or discredited their research, and they lost their reputation, and they were sort of like Tesla would be an example. But
you mean Nikolai Tesla?
Yes,
the original Tesla.
Yes, the original.
Yeah,
all those things that you know, it's not totally this way, but there is some part of the cancer treatment in this country that's about greed and is about making money off of us. And they make a lot of money. One of my pills costs $20,000 a month.
Whoa.
I'm not paying that, I don't have that. Somebody is paying that for me, but really?
Yeah, the burden.
$20,000? Yeah. And poor people don't get the same care as rich people, and
people of color as white people.
Exactly. And I have support because I'm retired, so like I have someone coming in to help me shop and do laundry and do cleaning for me and those kind of things. But not everybody has that, and I feel very grateful for what I have. I can't imagine in a country that like Guatemala or Peru or some of those places. Although
even the United States.
Even the United States, yes, that's right.
So many urban centers that are, the people are struggling desperately with asthma, all kinds of illnesses. Yeah. So it reminds me of some research I did for this book and for the series about modernity. I learned that, so according to some sociological theories, that modernity is about 350 years old, and that prior to the I guess the naming of science as the arbiter of truth, people universally were led by faith and superstition. So I looked up the etymology of superstition, and that word means to kind of stand over in awe, to stand in awe of.
Whoa.
Yeah, super is over, and stition is something to the effect of awe, like, and to stand in awe is how I feel when I'm in nature, and when I'm like really in that space that you talked about of balance, of, you know, peace, I would call it. Could we go back there?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't kind of, some of the things, a lot of the things that you're doing as a practitioner of shamanism, as a practitioner of mindfulness, you're doing that and calling all the beings that are, you know, at the ready.
Yes. Yeah, like I do a lot of, I think you call it forest bathing.
Forest bathing, yes.
I walk my dogs every day that I feel well enough to. And I have a tree, Bran the Beloved, and I have Eveline, and Birch Tree is in my yard. So
and
I have the male and the female.
Their names just came to you?
Yeah, I asked their names, they came to me.
Beautiful.
And I've decorated a lot of trees. I take a lot of my jewelry and different things I have and offer it to the forest. And when I enter, I bow and I ask them to just be tender for me, because I feel them embrace me when I come. I'm here, thank you. As I'm walking, I ask you to heal me and to take away those heavy energies that are contributing to the cancer spreading or being in my body. And I believe they have done that. I'm also making crafts. I bring home lots of found objects, bark and pieces of trees.
Yes, like Gemma that I still have on my altar that you give me. Yeah.
So I make crafts as well from the earth, and it's like a forest deity.
Yeah.
So I really feel that, and I sit in the sun, and I feel the sun rays just coming down, and I know that those are healing for me. That's not just woo-woo stuff.
Right.
There's a reality to the fact that sun is healing and light.
Yeah. It's this whole word of superstition, like the etymology of that is opening up so much for me, because when you say you're bathing in the forest or you're sitting with the sun, and then the woo-woo, well, let's just rename superstition as I'm standing in awe. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
You know, that's exactly what it is. Let's rewrite the correct, naming convention of some of these practices.
And that's we have put down that word. And superstition is, so I do think it comes mostly from the patriarchy.
Yeah.
And because they don't understand, they don't operate as many. I mean, this is generalizations for sure.
Right.
But men in general are not quite into this experiential piece as easily as many women are.
Exactly.
And doing the work of a medicine woman or an herbalist or
unless
a nurse.
They have come through that tradition from their own, lineage, their ancestors, their families, right?
That's true.
Like Mika and others in your life.
Yeah.
And, I was thinking, I had a conversation with my partner about crying when a loved one dies.
Yeah.
And how when he was younger, his grandfather died and he wanted to cry, but looked around and
none of the men were
couldn't
crying.
do it. Like, it was going to be a shameful thing if those tears started dripping. We've made a lot of progress in the past 20 years. I mean, I think of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and how I think that was in 1969 that her stages of grief were named.
Okay.
And it's still very important. Some people have expanded on that. But I think maybe in the past 5 years, I don't know. We're at a tipping point, I hope, around grieving and around naming the reality of this process of whether it's dying or dying to parts of ourselves, letting go. And one of the things that you said to me recently was about surrender. And surrender being so important in this process now.
Yes.
Do you want to speak to that, or is there?
Sure.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with Egypt?
Okay. Yeah. What was that, a year ago that you went to Egypt?
Yeah.
Here's your photo.
So this is me in Egypt in the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid. And a friend of mine was taking pictures when I'm inside a sarcophagus in that room.
Wow.
And it captured the light coming in on me.
Wow.
And the direction that we had from the leader of my group in Egypt was to let go of absolutely everything and to totally surrender. This sarcophagus and going inside the Great Pyramid was very much known in ancient times. People like Pythagoras and Jesus, possibly, many of them were in the Great Pyramid.
Wow.
And they did a resurrection process in there of they would take some kind of a sedative and really be close to death for 3 days and then kind of resurrect. And so that was the experience we were all seeking to have in doing this. So I'm laying in there, and I gave up everything. I gave up who I am, what I think my gifts are, what my legacy is, my name, everything. I just laid it all out, and I felt free.
Wow.
I felt free. And I wasn't striving or trying to be anything. I just let it all go. And underneath all of those roles and all those things was this beautiful essence of love and of my spirit and my soul, who in that way I'm connected to Source and I'm connected to everything. It was a very powerful, powerful experience for me being in there, and it was so beautiful to me when this friend showed me the light coming down on me
in
there.
your heart, on your throat chakra, like all that. Beautiful.
So that was the last day we were in Egypt, and in every temple that you travel to there, you have downloads. They're like an active portal, and different ones have different gifts that you receive. So, I went, that's a whole other topic to go into what happened in Egypt, but it was very powerful for me.
Nice. And you were talking about surrender or freedom, like there were some things that you're holding still.
Yeah, so I feel, looking back on it, I got very sick on the way home from Egypt. I had COVID and then was really sick, and it was the cancer, but I didn't know. I was having trouble breathing. And so that was the perfect lead into it. So now I use that all the time. I let go because I don't understand. I don't know what my future holds. I don't know how long I'll be alive. I don't want to suffer. I don't know how long I'll be here. So I just keep releasing and releasing my emotions. I feel them. It's healthy to feel your emotions. Do I cry sometimes? Yeah, I do.
I'm crying right now. I'm trying really hard not to, but
it's but I just give them up, and I know there's a compassionate being in the formless realms. That, again, I don't care if we want to call it light or Jesus or whatever your own particular belief system is. I know they're hearing me, and I have felt my ancestors very close to me in a way that I never have before. When I was rushing around doing my life here, it's like I'm very slowed down, I'm very tuned in, I'm silent most of the time, and I get messages, telepathic messages all the time, but it's like a big hug. It's like a big hug from the other side. So it's really enabled me to be free to, I'm not afraid to die. I've had some shamanic journeys, one in particular that started at the point of death. That was a beautiful one. It took away my fear of death.
Nice.
I don't want to suffer, however. So I'm really in an open-handed kind of place. I mean, if I'm here for 6 more months, or if I'm going to be here 10 more years, it's out of my hands. I'm doing what I can, and then I release. I just have to let it go. And I'm trying to take as much sovereignty in my own life and control as I can. But at the end of the day, it's just giving it up. And when I go to sleep at night, I release as if I might not wake up. And again, that's liberation, that's freedom. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it talks about the fact that through death, many people find enlightenment, and through a greater freedom, because the body does drop off. But that other part of us is alive and infinite and continues in some way, in a rebirth or a resurrection, however you want to talk about that. So that's been very, very central to me. And I do have some difficult relationships. I don't want to go down that road necessarily that aren't cleared up. And my heart is to clear them up before I transition, but I can't make them, and so I have to give them up. And I use the metta prayer has the most helpful to me. I can say that for anyone.
Yeah. You want to just say I know it from Pema Chodron, but the metta is like, may
loving kind. May all beings be well. May all beings be at ease. May all beings experience a health and wellness. Yes. May all beings be free from harm. Yeah. It's such a beautiful, and I've also done a lot of Tonglen, which is a Buddhist word, or it would be a Sanskrit word, I guess. So when I've had some difficult times. I had a really serious glomerulonephritis, kidney stone, sepsis. I was in the hospital in September, the whole month of that. And so I was in a lot of pain and suffering, and so every time I would feel that myself, I would include everybody else who's wearing a catheter right now and who's in pain urinating and dealing with cancer. All of us together now, may we all be free from suffering.
Sangha.
And you breathe it in, you breathe in the suffering, and you breathe out ease, and just become a conduit for that. So I've done a lot of that work, and I find it very satisfying, and it lightens my own carrying of pain and suffering to share it with, and to realize, look, there's thousands, millions of people who are dealing with this all over the world all the time. and we're insulated from that. I'm not any longer.
Yeah. So actively like preparing and actively saying okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I pray with you.
Thank you.
And we'll keep praying for your health and for your light to continue. However the form it takes.
Thank you.
It's hard to say. So thank you, Jan. I really appreciate. Is there any other words? I love your book. Look at that, the tree. And is it made out of papyrus or papyrus? Or?
The pages are.
They really are.
This is my journal since when I got the diagnosis. I started this journal, and a
lot of pages to fill.
I might write a book. I'm thinking of eventually maybe writing a book.
Well, to be continued. We can do this again, right?
Okay.
Perhaps, hopefully.
Can I read the Bodhisattva prayer?
Sure.
Is there time for that?
Yeah. And while you gather that, I'm going to say this candle is made from Prosperity Candle here in East Hampton. And it says, "It isn't enough to talk about peace. One must believe it," by Eleanor Roosevelt.
I'm working with what's called a Bodhisattva prayer.
Okay.
And I just think it's very beautiful. I'm just going to read this.
Yeah.
May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles, and for the boundless multitude of living beings, may I bring sustenance, awakening, enduring like the earth and sky until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awakened.
Beautiful.
I try to say that daily, and I had a call in my life. I wanted to serve since I was born. I always wanted to get out of school and just go be a missionary or something. Just go help people. Wow. So nursing was a good fit for me and my other work.
And a mystical shaman as well, for sure.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Jan. And maybe together we can blow out the candle.
Mujéres Co-Labor for Peace.